We got Spider-Man 2025 trailer. Iron Man return, new Venom, the new stuff. For 2025 is gonna be big for Marvel.
Oh my God!
That shit gonna be cooking.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Marvel finally released the first official teaser trailer for Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. This used to be called Spider-Man Freshman Year because it's meant to be Tom Holland's Spider-Man from the MCU getting the spider bite in his first year as Spider-Man before
I
the
didn't know
events
that.
of Captain America Civil War, meeting Iron Man, the Avengers, Infinity War,
That's dope.
Endgame, everything that happened during Spider-Man No Way Home. But with the twist that it's actually taking place in an alternate universe, so they're basically doing all the different Spider-Man villains and characters from the comics that they haven't been able to all bring together at the same time in the MCU yet, in live action. So they're using this alternate universe spin on Tom Holland's MCU Spider-Man to say, what if Norman Osborn Green Goblin became his man in the chair instead of Tony Stark Iron Man?
Be evil.
But there is a version of Iron Man during the series. Charlie Cox is going to be part of the series as his version of Daredevil. Benedict Cumberbatch is doing his version of Doctor Strange, but it all looks like Steve Ditko animated the whole thing.
So good, bro.
What if we did a Spider-Man TV series based on MCU Spider-Man with a slightly alternate universe spin, all of his villains from the Spider-Man comics, but all the other big Marvel comic book characters back during the 1960s, and Steve Ditko were to animate the whole thing himself. On top of that, they're also doing a version of Venom. There's a bunch of Sinister Six characters. Like I said, Dr. Octopus, pretty big character during this. So pretty much any big Marvel character you could imagine from the comics, not just Spider-Man characters, but like all Marvel characters are active in this version of New York City. This is basically the place we wanted to get to in the live action movies. Like, when can we see this in live action? But it's taken them like 10 plus years to even get close to that. This is part of the magic of TV shows. They just have way more runtime to actually populate the universe and do justice to all these different characters.
And you can do stuff without getting questions.
When it starts in January next year, be sure to subscribe to get everything. It'll be like the first big thing that happens from Marvel in 2025.
I'm so excited for that shit.
There's also a bunch of extra trailer footage they released at Comic-Con, but I'll talk about during this video too, that they did not release online, because it gives us a much better idea for what's going on with the characters, especially the way they're showing him get the spider bite and how they're explaining Venom inside this Spider-Man universe. So just starting with the trailer footage, they changed the name of the series, obviously. It used to be called Spider-Man Freshman Year because it was Tom Holland's year one spin on the series. I think they changed the name of the series because they wanted to go multiple seasons.
They want to go a different way, that's why.
It would sound more like Spider-Man sophomore year, and you already start to see some of the timeline issues. People would expect them to be doing stuff from Captain America Civil War, and then eventually Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man No Way Home. And because they wanted this to be an alternate universe spin where they could do way more of the Spider-Man villains and characters from the comics, they just decided to say that it was completely alternate universe, so they changed the title so people weren't going into like year 2 of the series expecting them to do Captain America Civil War the way you saw it in the live action movies. Also because Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man implies more ground-level Spider-Man stuff, which he's basically doing during year 1 of when he first gets the spider bite and figuring his powers out. The ironic thing about that, though, is that they also have a lot of Avengers-level characters running around in this version of New York. Like, you have Tony Stark, Iron Man, you have Doctor Strange. So I expect it to get a little bit crazier because this is a series, it is animation. They can do pretty much anything that they want because they have all the Spider-Man characters from the comics and all the other regular Marvel characters, like Avengers characters. Sort of like, what if they did the Spider-Verse movies, but the Spider-Verse could also do way more Avengers characters that were not just core Spider-Man characters. There have been references to like Doctor Strange, for instance, during Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, but for the most part, all these characters are just Spider-Man comic book characters. As you can see, they show him web-slinging around the city with a version of Tom Holland's first homemade spider suit. It's a little bit different from his version of the homemade suit, but it's meant to have the same vibes. You see him start to figure out his powers. They have the funny moment with him accidentally knocking the bully out with the brick on one of his first outings because he hasn't figured out how to use his webbing yet. They have the reaction shot from his friends cringing at him messing up. I'm not sure who this one on the left is meant to be. I don't think it's supposed to be Harry Osborn. That was my first thought, but Norman Osborn is black during this series. He's actually going to be voiced by Coleman Domingo, but they haven't said who's voicing Harry Osborn yet. You might remember Coleman Domingo from Fear the Walking Dead. He also voiced Unicron on Transformers Beast Wars, and a lot of people have been asking for him to be like the recast version of Kang in the live-action MCU movies now too.
They're
This
probably
person in the
giving him
middle,
a
I
try
think, is
on
meant to be one of
this.
his teachers at Midtown
Or
High, and the
MJ.
person on the right is meant to be Amadeus Cho. So they are doing Amadeus Cho on the series. I don't know if he's going to get his gamma powers during the series at some point. I assume that he will, so that means they'll probably also introduce a version of Bruce Banner Hulk inside this universe eventually.
Hopefully.
These are all the characters that they've confirmed so far. Like, this is a spread of most of the characters, but there'll probably be others that they'll introduce beyond this. Some of these are also meant to be double versions
How
of
many
Peter Parker in
episodes is it
different types of
supposed to be?
Spider-Man suits from the comics based on the Spider Slingers. But notice
That's a
versions
lot
of a
of
lot of classic
characters
Spider-Man characters, very
for just
identifiable.
one
Some of them
season.
are different looking versions of classic Spider-Man characters, but like you also have Tony Stark, Iron Man in his original red and gold suit, which Steve Ditko also created. Like, this is him in the original red and gold suit. I do not know who's going to voice him. It won't be Robert Downey Jr. just because he hasn't come back for the TV series, but I believe it's meant to be all the same What If actors who did those versions of the animated characters coming back for this series to do similar characters, but slightly different spins on them. And if it wasn't clear, this isn't meant to be a spin-off of What If. It's like a completely separate thing in its own universe.
We need to
They
get more
revealed Hugh
stuff like
Dancy
this,
from
bro.
Hannibal is doing Dr. Octopus. They haven't
I
announced
like
the
this
rest
shit,
of the
bro.
full voice cast yet, or which other Spider-Man villains or characters are going to introduce beyond the ones that you see here, but these are a lot of the classic ones. One of the other
They can
biggest
also
characters during the
experiment to
series
see
and
what
in the
people
Comic-Con
like
trailer footage is
to make a
Nico
movie out
from
of it.
Runaways, most of you remember. In this universe, she becomes one of Peter's friends, and they have adventures together. The other really big thing that they've revealed in the Comic-Con trailer is the way that they're doing his origin story and how he got the spider bite. We never actually got this in the MCU during the live-action movies. They just sort of brushed past it because we met him during his sophomore year when he was 16 years old. They're using the more fantastical spin on this alternate universe, like it gets way crazier, saying that he got the spider bite when Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange falls through one of his sling ring portals while fighting a Venom symbiote, and the spider that bit Peter
Venom.
falls through the portal with them and then bites him. You actually see that
That's
going down as
crazy.
he's talking to Nico in front of
They
Midtown High here.
basically gave the whole
This is actually
story
a
right
screen
there.
cap from that scene, like where Doctor Strange falls through the portal fighting a version of Venom. This is meant to be the Venom symbiote, this black goo creature that's standing over Nico, and Spider-Man standing there in the middle about to get the spider bite. So this is also the way they're explaining how Venom winds up inside this Spider-Man universe. He comes from another universe, as does the spider who bit him, which a lot of you will remember is also from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. They just explained that the Earth-42
I can't
spider
wait
that
for
bit
that either,
Miles
bro. That
actually
shit gonna
came
cook.
from a completely different universe. They haven't said who's going to voice Venom in this universe, though. It's not going to be Tom Hardy. These are meant to be the opening credits, too. I love the comic book vibe that they're going with to tell you his story,
I
while
love
also
comic book
introducing each episode. Like they're
series
speed
like
running his
this.
backstory each episode in the actual credits themselves. Kind of like X-Men the animated series and also X-Men 97.
We
Like
need more
X-Men
stuff like
97
this.
tells you a
X-Men
little bit of the
97 and
story when they
Spider-Man.
change the intro episode to episode. But in this Spider-Man series, they're doing it as if you're reading an actual comic book, flipping the pages, that was animated by Steve Ditko. Like, what if Steve Ditko animated a Spider-Man series back during the 1960s? Some of you probably recognized his new suits that show up during this too. And the idea is that because Norman Osborn is replacing Iron Man as his mentor, he's the one
Yeah,
that
have
winds
all
up
them
using
suits.
Oscorp to help him create these new suits with his Oscorp tech, with his Green Goblin tech.
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
Starting on the left, this is the Hornet suit, then the black one is the Dusk suit, then there's the classic Steve Ditko second suit. It's not the first suit. The first suit was red and black. There was an Easter egg for that
Norman
during
Osborn
Spider-Man
gonna try
Far
to
From
take
Home
one of
in
those
that version of the
suits.
advanced suit. The white one is the Future Foundation suit. A lot of people talking about this. This might mean that the Fantastic Four show up during this series at some point. And then the
Bro,
one on the far right
imagine
is the yellow
that shit will
Prodigy
be
suit.
dumb lit.
My assumption, because they were showing this off as part of the season 1 footage, is that he will get versions of these or wear different versions of
They need
these
to do
throughout
that. That
the
would be
later
so
parts
good.
of the season. I think the first couple episodes, he'll just be wearing his homemade suit as he starts working with Norman Osborn. And just because of the Green Goblin of it all, we will see how long it takes for him to actually put on that Green Goblin suit and take that persona, or if he's already Green Goblin when the series
Yeah,
begins,
he might
or if
not.
we'll get
Who
to see that
knows?
origin story at some point. The other cool detail is that the theme song of the series also sounds like an updated modern version of the classic 1960s animated Spider-Man series.
Spider-Man. Oh my god, I missed this. They cooking.
Originally, this was meant to go multiple seasons. I do think that we will see a
Hopefully.
season 2. I think they're planning for this to actually do pretty well. It looks really solid. I don't know why they haven't been promoting it more, but maybe just because they haven't been ready to actually introduce it yet. There's so many other TV series that they want to get people hyped up about too. Like, we have all
Yeah,
this stuff coming in
Spider-Man would just take
2025, like
over
Daredevil
all
Born
that.
Again. It's going to be so fire. And also on top of that, we have this really cool Spider-Man series that everybody's been asking to get in live action. Like, can you do all this stuff in live action too? All the new trailers here that they've introduced really just raise more questions than they answer, so I'm sure they'll release a much longer trailer in the next month, because What If Season 3 episodes are actually supposed to drop December this year. If you remember my What If Season
December
2
this
episode
year.
videos last year,
Ooh.
they're basically doing the exact same thing where they release one episode per day at the end of December through Christmas. So what they'll probably do is they'll release like a full What If Season 3 trailer video really soon, and then when What If Season 3 episodes are happening, they'll release that Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man trailer. There were a bunch of other trailers that they released for 2025, so
I
I'll
want
do
to know
videos
more
for all
about
those too
Wonder
in the next
Man,
couple
bro.
of days. So there's a bunch of stuff
Like,
coming
I,
up, all
I
that
don't
looks
think
like it's
people
going
are
to be
gonna
real
like
solid,
that.
so really,
They
really
always
good
be
stuff coming.
complaining about it.
Just because there's so much stuff going on in this footage, if there's any Easter eggs or references that you spotted that I didn't talk about in this video or my previous videos, write them below in the comments. There are also a couple giveaways that I'm doing right now that are about to end, so I'll start naming winners in the next couple videos for those too. Everybody click here for my Daredevil Born Again trailer video, and click here.
Please like, subscribe, comments. Bye bye.